All right, what's going on, folks? Hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to another episode of the Bordello. It's an important broadcast coming to you at the time of the Club World Cup in the United States. And I think it's a good thing that we're getting to have this test run right now. We used to have the Confederations Cup the year before the World Cup. The host nation would put on a tournament, and it would be a little dress rehearsal, a little dry run. That's been done away with, and now we're doing the Club World Cup. The scale is much larger, and that's good. That's very important, because what it's enabling us to see now are the integration of politics and football, because the scale of this thing is impressive. Even though nobody's attending the games, make no mistake, nobody's attending the games. In Cincinnati, Charlotte, North Carolina at noon, no one's there in these football stadiums. And, that's probably okay. That's probably for the best. Because you'd rather the people that be there, quality over quantity. Already it's hard to kind of stomach many of the American fans who tend to pull for teams abroad. Because, well, I'm talking mostly about, fans of football in the United States that pull for teams in Europe. They're an interesting breed. Because a lot of the time they don't have an affiliation to the country. Sometimes they do. Many times they don't. That's very weird whenever that happens. Very strange. Because, I guess it's been happening for as long as football's been around. You hear a lot of stories, for example, like I'm a Juve fan. And I came to the team. And, this isn't me. I'm not here sitting on my high horse saying, oh, well, my family's from the same country that Juve is from, so I have a divine right to like them. I mean, anyone could watch a team. You just get a broadcast. Your money's good anywhere. But that's how I came to them, was, taking a keen interest in players that I saw play for the national team. And I was like, well, who do they play for? Ooh, wow, that team. That's how I kind of fell for them, was through the players who I fell for. Through, I guess, identity reasons. But you do hear stories about people in, the Middle East saying, well, I've been watching Juventus my whole life. Okay, good. Fine. Now we have Americans who, they have the same brain as a person in the Middle East. It never really bothered me when a Middle Eastern person would be a diehard Juve fan. I actually found it kind of charming. For some reason, the American Juve fans kind of disgust me a little bit. I don't know why. I think it's because of the way they speak. That's not their fault. It's just how I viscerally react to hearing people with an American accent speak about football. It's just a thing I have. The Arabs in the Middle East who like Juve, who have been following them since the 80s and the 90s, because football has always been big in the Middle East, right? For longer than it has been in America. So, even though the Arabs in the Middle East or the Persian guys that might like Juve or the people fucking, I don't know, Armenia, Turkey, Azerbaijan, whatever. Even though they would mispronounce names also, it felt charming to me. I don't know why, because the accent was, it was international. It felt cultured somehow. Very, like Alessandro Del Piero. Del Piero, very good player. That didn't bother me. I would go, yeah, okay, all right. Good for you. You like the team. You're entitled to. But then when I hear the American fans talk about we need to put Vlahovic up top, it just bothers me. And I'm not even, I don't even think I'm doing it justice there. I put a little Southern twang on that. I shouldn't have. Let's go a little more broadly American. Okay, the broad American accent. We're talking about Juventus. I don't know what management's doing putting Tudor at the helm as coach. It's a very strange decision for me. I have a hard time understanding why they're doing that. I don't like the way that Igor Tudor is playing Manuel Locatelli. I don't get why Manuel Locatelli's not playing. It's weird. You understand? I'm not even trying to be that cunt that makes fun of people that can't pronounce Italian names. And Lord knows, a lot of people do that, you know. The French are the kings of that, by the way. You know, you go to France and you go, hello, can I have creme brulee? They go, oh, you want creme brulee? Okay, I'll get you creme brulee. Do you want to make chicken with that? Like, they're cunts. I'm not trying to be that. But it is, I can't help it. It just bothers my ear. It bothers my ear when people can't pronounce things the way that they're supposed to be pronounced. That's why I pronounce things like a pretentious cunt. Yeah, I don't know. So I don't know. I guess I just called myself a cunt after saying I'm trying not to be a cunt, but maybe I'm just a cunt. It's what it is. But like, it bothers me to say a name incorrectly. Sometimes I'll get lazy, but I'll try to at least, you go halfway, right? So you don't have to say Manuel Locatelli. You could say Manuel. I wouldn't really be able to say his name any other way. I don't know if I can. Let's take another example. I don't know that I would say Michele Di Gregorio every single time. It's a little much, but I'll go. I don't know. They put Di Gregorio in nets. I'm just not pronouncing the R, but I'm putting the emphasis on the rest of the name correctly. Maybe let's pick one that everyone kind of tends to struggle with. How about this? Andrea Cambiaso. Cambiaso. That's one you'll hear a lot. There we go. That's a better example. They're trying, but they're not doing it right. I'll never say Cambiaso. I'll say Cambiaso. If I don't want to be a cunt, I'll be like Cambiaso. If I, whatever. But if I had to, yeah, Andrea Cambiaso. I'm able to kind of, I don't know, just sort of say the name in a half measure type of way. Ways that many of the American fans that watch a club cannot. Because they're not from the place that, a lot of the players are from, right? They're international fans. The Japanese people, the people in Singapore that are going out with Juve jerseys to preseason tour games are in the same boat. These are modern football fans. That's football nowadays. Football now is at a weird point. There's kind of an interesting dynamic going on in world football currently, where it's been played in South America and Europe for the longest amount of time, and then kind of Africa a little bit. Like, a lot of clubs there got founded in like the mid-20th century. Kind of the Middle East, same thing. So you have a lot of fans of clubs in those parts of the world, those pockets of the world. But then like East Asia is more recent. The Chinese Super League, the Japanese League, I think a lot of those teams are a lot more recent. Australia, same kind of thing. North America, very much the same thing. So what you tend to have in those parts of the world are opportunities for the more established clubs to come in and say, give us your money, give us your attention. Don't worry about your local club. We got to be the main source of attention that you give to any team in world football. But the point of every club that's founded is to kind of serve that area. So what you wind up losing with the global fans is the tribalism that comes with being a fan of a club. It becomes like F1 almost. That's what we're seeing with the Club World Cup now. And anyway, look, I'm getting off on a tangent here. By the way, how do we like the setting? I mean, we're one with nature right now. We got wind blowing through, fighting off the elements. We got birds chirping in the background. We do this in the summer once in a while. Get a little nice natural light. I don't know how many more weeks we're going to do this, but we're, I don't know. I kind of liked how the audio sounded last week outside, without any walls to bounce off of. So hopefully this is a pleasant audio sensory experience if you're only tuning in. But if you're only tuning in on a podcast platform, but if you are watching this, hopefully the visual is nice as well. Apparently just looking at a tree is good for you. Apparently, I don't know if that's true, but a high school psychology teacher, not a doctorate, not a PhD, not a professor, but a good guy, made dick jokes in a high school setting. That was, we respected that about him. We thought this guy's cool. He has balls. He said that just looking, I'm almost quoting him. This is why we like this teacher. He said, even just staring at a fucking tree apparently is good for your mental health. I think he dropped an F-bomb when saying it because he was trying to tell us to get off our phones. This was 10 years ago, imagine. Before the brain rot, before TikTok came out and before these systems, which were already great at hacking our dopamine centers, we're doing it at a much higher level. Anyway, so hopefully you enjoy the background here. Look, I'm getting off track here. We got to focus on what's important here, okay? The Club World Cup's going on. And I think it's good that we're getting to experience this now because we're getting a dry run of what will be a very politicized World Cup in a year. That's without a shadow of a doubt. There's no chance that the World Cup in 2026 is not a highly politicized issue, as it often is. It was in Qatar, as it kind of was in Russia, but it'll be different because this will be the U.S. and it'll be Trump's America. And unless something happens and he's not around in a year, it's gonna be there's gonna be more of what's going on now, which is Juve going to the White House and standing in the background while a player that 10 years ago was working in a grocery store and playing with skinny fat guys that smoke cigarettes in the 6th tier in Italy stands by the leader of the free world talking about how Iran can't have a nuclear bomb. That would have never happened during that never would have happened during the Confederations Cup. It was too Mickey Mouse of a thing, I would argue. It was only like a 6 or 7 team tournament. It wouldn't have moved, it wouldn't have registered on the Richter scale like the Club World Cup is. Because even though no one's going to the Club World Cup, FIFA's kind of putting it out like it's a cool thing that matters. And, maybe it could become an important thing down the line. The infrastructure is pretty impressive. Not the infrastructure. That's not the right word. Well, the format, I think, is impressive. Excuse me. Not infrastructure. Not that at all. The format is impressive, where it really is a global tournament. There's a relatively meritocratic entry process that enables you to kind of really get some of the best teams in every region of the world. It's not all the best teams in the world because there will be more from Europe. But okay, we get the best ones from Europe mostly, who've done well consistently over the past few years. We get them into a tournament where they're playing against the best from other parts of the world. That is cool. And the fact that it's every 4 years means it's not, it's not going to be like this almost friendly tournament like the old Club World Cup kind of was, where you wanted to win it, but it wasn't that big a deal because it was quick. It was 10 days long. But now to draw it out over a month, does open up the prospect of, I don't know, just catching the bug. And I've almost caught the bug. I got to be honest with you. Just watching some of the South American teams play the European teams, it's doing something for me. It took a while. The first few days, it felt a little strange. It felt a little weird. I was like, okay, these guys should be on vacation right now. Like it feels wrong. It feels wrong to just squeeze out a last month of these guys' loan deals until June 30th or the last couple of weeks of their contract. It's like, nope, technically on paper, you're still our employee and we have competitive games. By God, get back on the pitch. Get back on the pitch. I'm whipping you. Get back on that field and pick that cotton. Like that's kind of like, it's like, Jesus, like I know they're getting paid money to do it, but it's still a physical feat. We're throwing them out there in like 35-degree weather in the summer. Football's not supposed to be played in the summer. It's why we play it in the winter everywhere in the world except basically in the United States. For some reason, soccer is like a thing you register your kid in after school and during the summer months. It's a summer activity in North America. For 3 months, you put your kid in soccer. That's why the American system was never all that serious. It wasn't a full, long season. It was, for a few months, go have your kid run around and pick dandelions. So, that's not how football's meant to be played. While it's true that you can play it in the summer, it's almost too hot and grueling to do. That's why, like most sports seasons, for most sports, I think Gaelic football, rugby, cricket kind of runs through the colder months. In the hotter months, you just go to the beach, anywhere. So, anyway. But alas, this is an American tournament, and man, by God, rain delays. Not a good time of year to play football in the United States, but we're doing it. We're doing it because FIFA says, well, this is important and money's behind this. And this is a big deal. Gianni Infantino's going to the White House to meet Trump and take questions on the Club World Cup. And then Trump gets asked about Iran. It's like, it's fun. It's kind of fun. It's fun that the scope of the Club World Cup has reached a level big enough, I guess, impressive enough, grand enough, that we are having teams be in a position to visit the White House. In an effort to promote FIFA, to put FIFA over. To put FIFA over ahead of this tournament that the United States has a very clear vested interest in having be a success. Because, make no mistake, anytime we don't really think about this with America because the United States are such a global brand. They don't really need sport washing. But anytime a World Cup is in a country, it's kind of an opportunity. Much like the Olympics, it's an opportunity for that country to showcase itself. The U.S. doesn't really have to do that. It's a bit of a bread and circus situation where the U.S. is like, fuck it. Let's do it. We got the infrastructure anyway. But other countries are like investing in stadiums and like Qatar. The whole reason Qatar, much like Saudi Arabia in 2030, will be hosting the World Cup. Same reason. We want to put ourselves over well, and we're going to invest in our infrastructure to put on a good show. And then when people leave, we're going to go back to doing whatever fucked up shit we do over here. But we're going to be on our best behavior, kind of like Hitler did. But at the Olympics in 1936, it's let's show well. Let's clean the streets up. Like at the Paris Olympics last year, where the streets were cleaned up and they ripped all the garbage out of the Seine. And they sent all the Africans, all the Africans that sell Louis Vuitton on the streets away. They actually had police do their job. And they said, no, we're going to clean the streets up for 1 month. Go to Paris now. It's rats and fake Louis Vuitton along the Seine. But for that 1 month of the year, it wasn't. So it's an important time of year right now for the United States because it's, it's fostering its relationship with FIFA ahead of next year's big tournament. And again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that the American masses don't really care about football to the extent that they'll show up for something like this. Because, frankly, it's just kind of, it's a gauger. It's a gauger to see where the people are at, what the reception will be. It is kind of, look, but before we get into the Juve at the White House thing, I do want to take a second to just kind of go back to a point I was making. I kind of got off on a weird tangent talking about Americans who can't even pronounce the names of the players on their team that they support. Where, at the very least, what you should be doing is you should be mispronouncing the players' names like the people in that part of the world mispronounce. So, for example, Michel Platini played for Juve in the 80s. French guy. It's an Italian name, but in France, he was Platini. If you asked him, what's his name? He would say Platini. But in Italy, they would kind of put a little Italian mustard on it. Chi è? Ha visto? È Platini. People kind of put, it's probably not the best, it's another horrible example. It's an Italian name going from French to English. All right, let's think of another example. Douglas Costa, former Juventus player. Let's just keep it with guys that played for, my favorite team. Just keep it, in my ballpark here, or in my wheelhouse. Douglas Costa, Portuguese, I think. Douglas Costa. But in Italy it was Douglas Costa. Hai visto Douglas Costa? È andato in scivolata Costa. So, the way you're almost meant to mispronounce it, you're a real cunt if you say Douglas Costa and you sound like me when you speak English. But what I would do is I would say Douglas Costa. I would mispronounce it the way that the people in Italy would do it. If you're not even able to do that, it's like I can't take you seriously. But again, it's like their money's good. So clubs, while probably not really having a whole lot of respect for these fans as people, are going to go to them. They're going to take their team and say, get on that plane and go to that part of the world where people could wave to you and hopefully fall in love with this team so that they don't give their money to Minnesota United. They fall in love with you, and they follow you forever. They follow us. They follow our team forever. It's almost like an unfair advantage that the European teams have over these like American teams. These American teams don't stand a chance because people that like football here want to watch the best football, and the best football now, because we have television access, is over there. So we watch it in other parts of the world. We don't watch our own local team. So you lose the tribal element of it, and that almost devalues their fandom. They are cheap. They are B-level fans. They don't matter as much. They don't. Barcelona has fans all over the world. The most important people to that club ultimately are the people that are in that city because of the political ramifications that, not ramifications, but I guess the political symbolism of the team and what it's meant over the years means a lot to the Catalan people. And because Barcelona is a huge city in Spain and Catalonia is a big region, they're the biggest club in that region, in that autonomous region. I mean, they would be massive if they had no fans anywhere else in the world, because they have millions of fans just in Spain, just in Catalonia, just locally, that, have a real sense of belonging to the team. And they're socios, and they're members, and they vote on shit. They vote on who the president is. That's what a club is about. That's a high-level club that's operating on the top level. The A-tier fans are the ones that are in Barcelona, 100%. Absolutely. Because it's about, initially it was about representing an idea for people in that city. And then other people just like watching Messi play. So they fell in love with the team because they liked watching Ronaldinho play. Whatever. It's kind of, it's lower level shit. It's lower level. It's not the same. And you should not take these people's opinions seriously. While they mean well, people that talk on, people that speak on this football without understanding, you at least have to appreciate just the sociological bullshit that goes into insert team that you're supporting. So if you're like in, Texas, and you follow a Mexican team that your father liked, you probably have a good idea, even though you're not from, even though you're not in the town anymore, even though you're not in Guadalajara, you have a big understanding. You have a very deep level of understanding about that team and how they operate and the level of bullshit in that city, because you hear what your father would tell you about what kind of corruption goes on in that town. And your uncle that still lives there tells you about what's going on. So you're a little more invested. But you have to be able to at least, stuff like that can't go over your head. You have to at least be able to understand, you have to have a certain level of literacy about the press and the way that team is covered in that country. In Italy, right? Tutto Sport versus Gazzetta dello Sport. Milan, Inter, Gazzetta, being a little more the Milan teams, the Milanese teams, excuse me, both Milan and Inter, even though I think they kind of skew. It's really both Milan teams. Corriere dello Sport is more Roman. It's where they're published out of. Then Tutto Sport is, Tutto Juve. They talk about Torino a little bit because it's in Turin, but it's basically a Juve. It's a journalistic mouthpiece of it's Juve's mouthpiece in the Italian media space. You have to understand this shit. If you don't even understand that stuff, what are we doing here? You got to understand how to read an article that's translated from Italian, right? Because the way that they do it there is they quote you in Italy. What they'll do is they'll quote a player with a quote he didn't say. So a player will say, I've talked about this on the pod at length before. A player will say, I can't wait to play Poland in the World Cup. And the Italian media will say the following. They'll quote it and they'll say Gattuso. It'll go Gattuso, colon. So say Gattuso, the coach of the Italian national team, says. Gattuso, the coach of the Italian national team, says, can't wait to play Poland next year at the World Cup. Italian media will say Gattuso, colon, quote, Poland? Question mark. I can't wait to play them. They mix it all up. They chop and take liberty, and that actually affects your understanding of that which you're reading. You got to be aware of all this stuff, and many American fans aren't, and they like a team for the idea of what that team is. Much like in Formula One, you'll just be like, yeah, I'm a Mercedes fan. There's no value to Formula One fandom. Formula One is one of the most vapid, pointless sports to follow as a fan Yeah. Yeah. Actually, that's it. I don't know how many people I have that listen to this that actually like F1. I would suspect it's probably more than I would be comfortable with. It's extremely popular, and a lot of WOPs like it. I had a very troubling experience the other day when after the F1 event took place in Montreal 2 weeks ago, someone came up to me and asked if I had a fun time at the weekend because I looked like a guy who would like that. I had to reconsider my life and how I come across because that's not who I am at all. I have a huge level of disdain for those guys. Now, I appreciate you liking the sport because it's a cool thing. I like MMA. I'm not going to cry if a guy loses a fight, really. I just like I like to watch it. You know, I like tennis because it's a cool sport to watch. I like to see a good match. There's a little bit of tribalism that comes into if it's a guy from like Canada or Italy where I'll get a little more excited. That's about it. You pull for your guy and hope that your fella could pull through. Otherwise, the point of watching tennis is for like the technical side of it. There's no tribalism in tennis. There's tribalism in football. There is pretty much only tribalism in football. It's our town versus your town. It's Boca Juniors versus River Plate. You're poor, we're rich. We go to war in the same town. It'd be very weird if people in Texas started pulling for River Plate without really having a full understanding of what's going on. Now, it's a cool thing to get a bug and like a team and say, one day I'll go visit. It'll be like a pilgrimage. You know, I'm a Juve fan abroad. The first time I went to the stadium, it was a big deal for me. But it's not what the point of football is. The point of football is build your game locally, build a competitive side, and have people in your own little backyard support you. But MLS clubs are not at the forefront of anyone's mind. If you're like an MLS club diehard and you're like, I'm a one club man, that's noble, but you're kind of a loser. Most of them are freaks. Most of the people that are like ultras of like MLS clubs, it's like, oh boy, just take a day off. I don't know. Watch real football. You know what I'm saying? Because it's available now. So it's like too late. It's too late. The American clubs will never catch up to the European ones. It's done. The gap is too big. And globalization occurred before we had a chance to develop the game in North America. So you have two American teams in this tournament. They both suck. They're both, out of the tournament. They're not making it. I think 3 American teams. Inter Miami's actually doing all right. That's fair. But, fuck. How many people are watching Inter Miami now because they're just watching every Messi game, right? It's not a whole lot of local people that are falling in. I'm sure there are people actually that are falling in love with football there because of Messi. That's almost the only way you could really get people locally to really pay attention to your club and kind of get into the habit of going out to games every week is through just something that's going to steal the attention away from the otherwise very shiny football in Europe. But yes, so what you wind up getting are people in America that like a team because it's a company. I like that company over there. That company, that public company, Juventus Football Club, I like them. I'm gonna dedicate my life to watching them and talking about them. It's my passion. It's like, Jesus Christ. It's weird. It's a lot like pulling for Renault or Red Bull. It's very weird to me to say I want to watch Red Bull company do well against Mercedes company. I want to watch automotive manufacturer Mercedes do well and beat French automotive manufacturer Renault do well. It's strange. It's okay to like it because of the circus of it, but it's very weird to be like, I'm a Mercedes fan. That's part of my identity. That's crazy. Nobody that's a high-level guy is a big Mercedes fan. I don't think. Is anyone that's like a high-level, high-performance individual crying because Mercedes lost the F1 championship? Is there one head of state who's like a big Ferrari fan? Is there one? I'm asking. You can comment below. I don't. You can comment on Spotify if you're listening to this. You can comment anywhere you're listening to this. Okay, let's start a discussion. I seriously don't know if there's ever been one head of state that likes a race team to the point that they'll watch every race. But I damn sure well know that most people have a football club. Every president of the United States has had like a favorite sport team, unless they're not a sport guy. But anyone that's a sport guy, like every prime minister in Canada has, a favorite hockey team. Because you grow up with it and it's part of the local culture. It's not like a foreign company that's global that you just watch. that you're getting to see in your own backyard because you're being placated. You're being placated. You're being milked for your money and said, yes, very good. Don't pay attention. Don't grow the game in Indonesia. Indonesians, watch us. Watch us instead. It's very gluttonous almost. And there's no two ways about it. It's not gonna be any other way. It's already how things are in global football. That will remain unchanged. But it's very odd. It's very odd. And yet, it is giving us fun moments, I think. Like if there wasn't as much of an interest in, appeasing the American fans, I don't know that the Club World Cup will be going on in the United States right now, and I don't know if this great moment of Trump with the Juve players would have happened. How unbelievable is this? Let's just play I want to play a clip of this. I'm going to be very honest with you. I've seen pictures of this. This happened days ago. I've gone very much out of my way to kind of not watch much of the video of Trump in the Oval Office with a select amount of Juve players representing the club as their ambassadors to the United States of America and its president, Donald J. Trump. I've kind of gone out of my way to not watch the video because I wanted to have a live raw reaction in real time on the pod. I just saw one clip the day it happened, and I just started laughing immediately and said, I got to shut this down. I got to react to it live on the pod in real time. Now, off the bat, let's just pull up this image here. Weston McKennie, Timothy Weah, the two Americans on the team, both in the White House. Should be said, Weston McKennie's father, big anti-Trumper. Weston McKennie is probably he's not an interesting human being. He's not an interesting human being. He thinks American food is better than Italian food. He's weird. He's not a refined guy. Like some people, let's just say he's not one. There's a lot of people in Brooklyn that kind of overly adopt foreign ideas. They kind of hate America a little bit, and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna get into Euro pop. There's a lot of weird guys that dress in Sergio Tacchini and grow out a mustache, and will go to Italy and be like, I'm gonna immerse myself in this. Those guys are a little obnoxious, but at least they're able to kind of try to learn about a culture to an extent. It's a bit obnoxious, sure, but they're at least making an effort. I don't even think we should commend them for making an effort because it's kind of annoying. But the point is they're able to do that. They're able to at least try to perceive stuff. They're able to try to perceive little cultural nuances, and they try to adopt them because it shapes their identity. They like feeling, oh, wow, I'm in the south of France this summer. I'm going to wear linens and dress like I have old money because there's a lot of Europeans here, who have fathers who are bankers in Switzerland who are kind of this way. I like them. I like the way they carry themselves. I'm going to try to behave like one of these motherfuckers. You see this often. So there's people out there that are able to kind of cosplay and switch codes. Weston McKennie's not one of those guys. Weston McKennie's a true-blooded American anywhere he goes. He sounds ignorant anytime he opens his mouth just because he has that fucking accent that we're talking about. I'm very happy to play for Juventus. It's like, look, Ronaldo could never pronounce Juve. He played there for a couple years. It was La Juve. He said it with a Portuguese accent. Not everyone's able to take on, not everyone's able to take on a culture in full, in stride. Like Hector Bellerin's a really good example of a guy who was in England for a few years and he was like talking like a London, like a South London roadman. Because he liked style, he liked streetwear. He was a smarter guy. He's a little bit annoying, because he was that guy. He was that kind of that artiste with the dangly earring, who would go to like an old used bookstore and try to read and talk about how something's sophisticated. But like, listen, I enjoy shit like that to an extent. I really do, but I try not to talk about it that much. I really do, because it's really annoying to be that guy. It's really annoying to be that guy. Just talking about the leopard last week on the pod, I felt weird. I felt weird talking about a piece of literature that's, set 150 years ago. Didn't feel right. But alas, I have opinions about stuff. I enjoy things. I try to not be pretentious about it. I think you got to try to almost pretend that you're dumb a lot of the time. Even if you enjoy high culture, you got to be very selective about when you talk about it because you will look like a cunt. And look, the benefit of being a guy like Bayern is you're at least intelligent enough to try to take an interest in stuff like this and try to read this fucking book, but you're annoying. Okay, fine, whatever. McKenny's not that guy. Anywhere McKenny goes, he's a burgers and fry guy. So listen, I don't think his father's all that brilliant. His father's a bit of a brain rot. I'm not going to come out here and say he has like Trump derangement syndrome, like that makes him stupid, like a lot of people that love Trump say. Does that make sense? So if you love Trump, you'll be like, look at this guy, he's an idiot. He has Trump derangement syndrome. It's the first time I've ever used that word, but it's it's a term in society, right? If you're like obsessed with Trump, you're deranged about him. All right, you got it. Sure, fine. It's a thing that Trump supporters use to kind of dig and jab at people that don't like him. But it is a real thing. You do see a lot of people that like obsessively tweet about him. It's fucked up. McKenny's father, I learned in the last week, is one of those guys. So his father's probably not brilliant. Probably a good guy. He's still in the picture, Some fathers are not in the picture. Okay? Those are dumber dads. If you're a dad who's like enough of a man to, all right, I'm gonna be a father to my kid. I'm gonna try to support him. Good on you. All right, Not everyone's discovering the theory of relativity, So that's who McKenny comes from. McKenny, but it is funny. McKenny's father, hates Trump. McKenny probably has a very unnuanced take on the world. And he's in the Oval Office just giving Trump the stank eye. He said, well, Trump, I'm going to play it from here. So I did briefly try watching a little bit of this press conference, which is what it turned into. Basically, it was meant to be, anytime a sport team goes to visit the White House, you shake hands with the president, he takes a picture, and he says, congrats on the title. Here's the thing. Juve haven't won anything in years. So they're just there on a PR tour, kind of promoting the Club World Cup, I guess, with FIFA president Gianni Infantino, who's Italian, who's Swiss-Italian, but he's Italian, so I guess the Elkans hooked it up. The Elkans are, industrialists, affluent people who are, Italian, but they have American citizenship, and I think they do a lot of dealings in the U.S. and New York and such, and probably like Trump, quietly, I guess. I would suspect, if they're sending the team to go fucking visit him. But it's just so funny. You got Dusan Vlahovic in the background here, who's from Serbia, who let's just say, Serbia and Kosovo, not huge fans of NATO, not the biggest fans of NATO, right? Or is it Sarajevo? I don't know. Most of the former Yugoslavian republics are not all that keen on NATO and the United States government. Let's just say that, all right? You'll hear some opinions if you go to a bar in Bosnia or Serbia. You bring up NATO. It's just what it is. So you got Gianni Infantino here. Here's what's funny. So you got Trump talking about geopolitics, then some journalist. Here's the thing. The thing starts off like, all right, happy to meet these great champions. Trump plays local politics, right? He plays identity politics. He goes, could a woman make your team? He's hoping they'll all say no. They all kind of freeze up, because they don't want to be weird. All right, fine. He's putting them on the spot. And all the players are kind of just not wanting to say anything and play along with his game. Then a press conference just starts, and then people are all like, hey, yeah, so what's going on in the Middle East? And then there's Manuel Locatelli and Federico Gatti are in the background. And then someone just asked a question to Gianni Infantino, and Gianni Infantino's talking about the Club World Cup and the World Cup next year like it's the most important thing going on.
Fans maybe coming in for the games, or is that not a concern?
Johnny, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's not a concern for us. For the games now in the Club World Cup, everything has been done in a very smooth way. We have an excellent collaboration, of course, with the president, but with the task force in particular. For next year, the World Cup, we have one more year to work, and the learnings that we have this year with the Club World Cup, which is historic, I say this to all the Americans, because it's the first ever Club World Cup, and it's played in the United States of America. So the learnings we'll have for this will apply them next year.
And they're largely sold out, so I don't know. I don't think he's too worried about the travel ban. He doesn't know what the travel ban is, I don't think. Johnny, tell me what the travel ban is. He doesn't know what it is. He's largely sold out. Like tonight is totally. I've had friends, they heard about this meeting. They said, can you get me tickets? I don't know if I can get tickets. He won't give them to me. Maybe John will give them to me.
Not sold out. None of the games are sold out. None of them are sold out. The one in D.C. might have been. It might have been sold out. It's a smaller stadium. But make no mistake. Not to fact check Trump. It's just funny to say, no, business is great. Business is booming. Stadiums are fucking empty. Anyway, so then some reporter just turns it over.
Iran and then one domestically. With Iran, what's your message to
No, I love this. So Gianni Infantino's talking about the Club World Cup and how the World Cup is coming up in a year's time, and it's very important that we get all the shit right. And then the reporters are like, all right, great. Yeah, anyway, back to Iran. What the fuck's going on there? And then Trump's just like, no, Iran can't have a nuclear bomb. And that's what I saw on social media. I just see Donald Trump freestyling saying, I said Iran can't have a nuclear bomb, with Weston McKennie in the background, just burning a hole through the back of the guy's skull because he's thinking to himself a very not nuanced take. Now, again, do I think that a war should be initiated with Iran? It'd be better if it weren't, I guess. Like, no war is better. But I'm not naive. I understand why Israel did what they did. What am I, stupid? Like if Iran does have a nuclear bomb, and by the way, I know the weapons of mass destruction thing has been used before to say we got to invade this fucking place when there was no weapons of mass destruction. But listen, if we take at face value the reports that apparently Iran's been trying to make nukes for a long time, obviously, if you're Israel, you see that Iran's been funding other terror groups. You don't want Iran to have a fucking nuclear bomb. You go, all right, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to strike the nuclear sites. Like, for example, if your next door neighbor was this is, and I'm not advocating for a war. I don't think a war is going to break out. I think Israel's very good at days-long wars. I could be very much wrong in a month, but Israel, you notice the Jews and Israel, just Israel are the only people that have days-long wars. The 6-day war. They go in, they have an offensive, they fuck shit up, and they make people surrender. They strategically go in. They're very incisive. The war ends. Yesterday, a ceasefire was signed. Apparently, it got violated. Trump was very upset. We'll see what happens on that front. It looks like it might be a whole mess. But they were calling it yesterday when the ceasefire was signed the 12-day war. So, anyway, I don't know how I got onto this point here, but look, so to the point of Israel bombing Iran, it's almost like that's your business, that's Iran's business. I think the issue that a lot of people have is that the U.S. are kind of getting involved. That's fair. But to be like, Israel has no business bombing Iran, it's like, well, if your next door neighbor was sending DMs to your wife saying he wants to fuck her, and he was getting his friends together for barbecues, and when they would all get together, they would all chant, we got to get Johnny to fuck that guy's wife next door. We got to get Johnny to fuck that guy's wife next door. And Johnny just started building up a weapon. Let's say like a stick and a ball, all right? Like a ball and stick with spikes on it, like the one that Bowser had in like fucking, I don't know, Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Super Smash Bros. Brawl, okay? If this guy's trying to build it up like a blacksmith, he's trying to build up this weapon so he can come into your house and break down your door, kill you, and then fuck your wife, okay? He's been telling you this for years, and he's working on it for years because he's a blacksmith. And here's the thing. The guy in this example, your neighbor, is a midget with Down syndrome, okay? He's a midget with Down syndrome, so it's taken him a long time. It's taken him a long time to build this weapon. You know that eventually, if he gets really close, right? Like he's got the ball, he's got the stick. All he has to do is put the fucking chain together, and he's gonna connect the two. Now at this point, you gotta be like, oh fuck, I'm gonna go destroy that weapon, so he can't do anything about it. And he's gonna shake his fist at the guy and go, no, because I have a bulldozer in this example for some reason. I don't know. I go in with a fucking bulldozer. I go in through his door. I strategically destroy his weapon and say, see you again in 12 years. I don't kill the guy. I say, all right, have fun. Wave your fist at me and keep fantasizing about killing my wife, fucking my wife, or whatever the metaphor is. I don't know. Like, I think that's kind of what Israel did. They went in and did a thing that they wanted to do. The issue that a lot of people have is that, the U.S. got involved. And so let's just say Weston McKennie in this case is probably not going to be partial to Trump's stance at this point, which is facilitating Israel going into this matter, with a very aggressive approach, because McKennie's probably hearing his father say, you believe this shit? I can't believe what this clown's doing. And McKennie's father is just fucking seething, seeing his son in the White House. And you know what? But you know what? He should be proud of his son. His son didn't suck his dick like a UFC fighter does. His son stood his ground. It's pretty clear that McKennie doesn't like Trump. And that's America. That's what it is. That's America. You got a bunch of guys that are kind of uncomfortable, and that's it. They weren't made to curtsy to the guy. It's a fun moment. I have to think that Federico Gatti's old teammates are probably losing their minds right now because most of them are on €1,200 a month. I don't know. Look, this is a shorter episode. I got to run. I got to go play soccer with fat people. Yeah, I play soccer with fat people once a week and I lose my mind. Last week we were down a goal, and the opposition had a guy go off injured. They were down to 10 men. They had no subs, and then did we equalize? No, we conceded 2 goals in the last 10 minutes. Lost 3-0. I have a fiduciary duty to them to go run and sweat. So that's the brain dump for the week. I hope you enjoyed it. Much love. Hit sub if you're inclined. If not, I understand. I understand. This was a little bit of a mess. I can't say I fault you. But leave a like on the video if you'd like. That helps. And tune in next week. Stay safe out there. Thank you. Ciao. All right, folks. Change of plans. Change of attire. Wardrobe change. Change of scenery. Change of setting. Night has fallen. The visuals here are a little dicey, but I don't like how we ended that off. I'm returning to you on the back of my soccer game, still wearing the goalkeeping shirt that I was made to wear. We're going to dive a little deeper into the subject of Trump in the White House and Juve in the Oval Office because it feels right. I don't think we ended that off correctly. I think we rushed it a little too much. I think we need to dive a little deeper here, and so we will. I will just say, first of all, before we get into it a little more and take this baby home and ride this into the sunset, I would like to announce that I am officially retiring as a goalkeeper. I have no business playing in goal. A couple years ago, I don't know if I've ever talked about this on the pod. If I have, it was years ago. So I'll loop everyone in who's kind of new to the show. Years ago, I was playing on the top level of amateur football in the province of Quebec. So a level below semi-pro. Good soccer, good football, but I wasn't playing a ton. I was getting, because it's serious. We're training. This is before I started stand-up. A couple years before. I'm on this team and I'm training and I'm playing, but not a ton. I'm coming on as a sub mainly. And at the end of the season, I come to find out, already I'm not happy with how much playing time I'm getting. And, football is like the most important thing to me at this point. I'm like working and that's it. I'm working and my thing is football. I'm like, well, let's try to play the highest level possible. We'll see where we could go with this. Even though I know it's not going to go anywhere, I'm like, let's just keep going. It's fun. I stopped because of stand-up because, training at night and stuff didn't really work. I was missing shows, and I was like, all right, well, this is what I want to do now. So that all changed. But at the time, I was only interested in playing football at the highest level I could. And I didn't like that I wasn't playing. So I kind of became a little indifferent and aloof to the whole prospect of even playing on this team anymore. But then I found out that we were looking for a new goalkeeper because I don't remember if we lost the guy that we had or if we, I think that's what happened is we lost our goalkeeper. He went up to another level. And I think the thinking was we need a backup. We need a new backup goalkeeper. And I'm so indifferent at this point. I'm not fucking playing. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Because I had a theory that anyone could play in goal. I literally had a theory that anyone who knows how to play football with their feet is able to train their hands to go in goal. I think the feet are the hard part. And if you could distribute the ball, then you just have to be taught how to position yourself. So I lied to my coach and said, yeah, I could do it. I've been a goalkeeper my whole life. Actually, I was a goalkeeper years before I met you, before I joined the team. He's like, Sam, this is unbelievable news. You're already in the team. I mean, I look forward to seeing you in the spring when we hold tryouts. I was like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, it's the winter now. And I'm like, well, the date is approaching. And I'm like, shit, I have no skills. What am I going to do? Am I just going to go, make an ass of myself? And so I decided to hire a personal trainer, like a one-on-one coach. And I would wake up at 7 a.m. before work. And I would do it for a couple months to the point that I was actually able to convince them that the lie was real. Like, no, clearly Sam's adequate. Look at him. He's pretty decent. So I made the team as the backup. Then I actually wound up going down a level to the regional level instead of the provincial levels. And I just played there as a starter for one season because I was like, well, fuck, I got these skills now. I want to play. And I got it out of my system and I stopped forever. I said, I'm done. I don't like this. I want to go back to running. And I played with the high-level team one more season the following year as their backup. In training, sometimes I would work with the goalkeepers, but I was back on the pitch. I was back, and I was actually what was funny about that was I actually had kept a lie going that, I was competent and that I knew what I was doing and had years of experience. I had 1 year of experience at this point when I'm back up with the top-level amateur team as the backup. But they think, Sam's been doing this for years. He's qualified. So I had to keep the lie going. We had a weird team that year, and the coach wound up playing me. Normally, I'm a defender, right? I'm a fullback. The coach wound up playing me as a striker to, chase down, to, just lead a press. And, and I remember guys on my team were like, why the fuck is Sam? I was so bad at the position of striker that they're like, well, clearly this guy's a goalkeeper. He's not a field player. He's not a fullback playing as a striker. He's so bad. This is clearly a guy who's a goalkeeper by trade. They're like, well, Sam's not good. New players on the team, basically, who hadn't seen me play on the pitch before, kind of just would see me play striker and be like, this is crazy. This guy belongs in goal. That's all he could do. Because I was not really, I guess I wasn't really all that impressive. But anyway, so after that, I started doing stand-up. This is 2022. I started doing stand-up after that season, and it ended in September, October, in the fall. I kind of tried to go all in with stand-up. And now when I play football, I play as an outfielder. I play and I want to work up a sweat. I play, in the summer, low-level garbage amateur clubs, way down lower in the pyramid. And I was registered with a club this year. And I was just going to play as a defender like I play, right? And another team at the club at a higher level, because the way it works here is if you register for a club, fuck, did my ring light just go out? Oh, there we go. And we're back. And it's off again. All right, well, this is going to get bleak, folks. This is going to get a little bit challenging here to get the visual component up to standard. Yeah, it keeps going out. All right, well, this is what it is. Listen, I apologize if you're still watching, but hopefully this could be a pleasant audio experience for you. So, all to say, the way it works here is if you sign up for a club, that club will have teams registered in multiple divisions at the regional level. So there are different teams that you could play for when you register for a club. So a guy from a higher level up coaching them reaches out to me and says, a coach from a higher level team says, hey, do you want to play in goal? I remember you used to play in goal a couple of years ago. And I go, absolutely not. I'm not burning another night. I'm just doing one night a week of football. Then I'm doing stand-up every other night. He goes, okay, well, that's too bad. And I said, well, by the way, a friend of mine has no team right now. He's registered at the club. Do you want to take him on? He goes, I'll only take him on if you go in goal. I said, all right, we're doing it. And it's been a month, and we've gotten 1 point out of a possible 15. And tonight I was so aloof, I went on TikTok live during the game. In the second half, we were up a man. The other team had 10 players. They started off the game with 9 players. And I thought, well, all right, I'm not even gonna. I'm planning an escape here. How am I gonna fake an injury and just say, oh yeah, I fucking hurt myself, upper body. I can't play in goal anymore. Sorry, boys, find someone else. I'm thinking, how am I gonna have an opportunity to sell an injury here if I'm not even gonna have the fucking ball? I'm like, Christ, we're 11 guys and they're 9. We have guys on the bench. They're not gonna touch the ball. 15 minutes in, odd man rush. They score. They're up 1-0. My team's captain is spazzing. It's at a point now where after every loss, the team captain has to send a paragraph in the group chat about how we need to look at ourselves and look hard in the mirror. Last week I was suspended because I got a red card because 2 weeks ago I said that kids on the other team that we were playing when we were down 5-0. I say 5 breakaways, by the way. I know it sounds like I'm a horrible goalkeeper. There was one was a free kick, could do nothing about it. A penalty. It was they were getting chance after chance. Corners, 2 corners they scored. So we're down 4-0. And I'm not a good goalkeeper. I'm not fucking over here telling you that I'm competent or know what I'm doing. But I saved 4 or 5 breakaways. There were that many odd man rushes and chances. And I'm getting fed up. And I'm chirping to the other team and I'm telling them they're 19. I'm telling them they have stupid fucking haircuts. I get a yellow card for that. Then 45 seconds later, one of the guys with a stupid fucking haircut gets an odd man rush. I just come out of the goal and hip check him because I'm I don't want to go in goal next week. So then and then I couldn't play with my other team, so I had to pretend to be a Pakistani guy the following night to play with them. Lost that game as well. Haven't won a game in, it's been a month. Just losing 2 games a week. So anyway, what was funny was the first goal that they scored, they wound up getting, the opposition tonight actually wound up getting a 10th man later in the game before halftime. But when they started off as 9 and scored the goal, I was like, well, fuck, I'm not going to touch the ball. I want to run and break a sweat. So I just start running suicides in the box. I'm like keeping track, 18 yards, back, forth, until I get to a kilometer. And now I'm kind of tired because I'm like going forward, backtracking. And then they get an odd man rush and I had to sprint out. And I barely had time to warm up because I was doing this pod beforehand and I don't give a fuck. So I'm like whatever, I'll get there. I'll get there when I get there. They're lucky to have me. I'm being a jackass, right? So I show up, barely any time to warm up. So as I'm tired from having like run a kilometer just in my own area, waiting for something to happen. Finally, they get a break while the game is still level, like 20 minutes in. I have to sprint out to challenge for a ball. I like pull my hip because I haven't warmed up. And I'm tired because I'm like gassed because I've been running. It was crazy. It was straight up. It was Italy U21 against Germany, but they were up a goal. They did everything that Italy, the other day when Italy went down to 9 men against Germany at the U21 Euro, they did the right thing. They waited back until they got scored on. You're just waiting to get scored on when you're playing at a competent level and you're down 2 men. But not us, you see, not the team that I'm playing on. So I don't know. Let's just say I feel a little niggle in my shoulder now. I don't know if we'll be might be retiring from playing in goal. Which is, I've been flagrantly disrespecting them, to be honest with you. Like a couple weeks ago, I had like poutine before a game. I went to film a food review at La Banquise in Montreal for MBHTV, which I don't know what's happening with those. It's kind of weird. I'm like fucking doing food reviews, being like, oh, check out my vlog. We might have to try. I think we're trying to elevate it to something a little better, just like something a little cooler, like maybe an investigative piece every time. I don't know. It's all still kind of in its infancy. But anyway, yeah, I had poutine before a game a couple weeks ago. I had a good game also after. Like stuff that I would never dare do with the team I'm with now. But now it's at a point where it's like, all right, they would do better without me. So I'm injured. My bad shoulder, which has been bad for a little while, is it ain't holding up anymore. Let's leave it at that. It was funny at one point when they scored that goal when they were down to 9 men. My buddy, who hasn't been playing a lot, who I am playing in goal for, so he could play. He's the guy on the team that I wanted to let play and get into a team. Now he's in, so I'm like, well, whatever. I'm injured. I feel bad leaving, but all right, whatever. You're already in the team, buddy. You're not gonna kick him out because I got hurt. Anyway, so my buddy got burned on an odd man rush, like on a counterattack, and me coming out poorly just completely made him look like an ass. So the rest of the game I was just trying to like pump his tires and be like, yeah, nice tackle, nice challenge, buddy. At one point, he fucking killed the guy. Like he legit Pepe stepped on a guy's back by accident after a challenge where he like shoulder to shoulder the guy it was. Normally that's fine, but in this case it was clearly a foul. And I'm like, yeah, good ball win. Just like try to gaslight the ref. So at one point, I'm on TikTok live in the second half because I'm bored. I'm tired of just being in goal, having all these thoughts come into my head that I can't write down. It's in my head's a gold mine. I'm thinking of shit on the fly, and I'm just scan my face, swipe up with my nose. Auto dictate, talking to my phone, baby. I'm gonna talk about this shit on the pod. Like we got scored on with a 2-man advantage. That's getting talked about in an hour and a half. I decided I'm going back home and we're re-recording the fucking pod to talk about Iran and Trump and Juve and everything that happened in the game. So at one point in the second half, we're down 3-2 at this point, and I'm on TikTok live and I'm just talking to my fucking camera, which is like I found a way to like prop it up on the post. And a ball comes out to me. I should be sweeper keepering at this point. And I'm not. I'm like on my goal line. And the captain of my team, who's been like sending paragraphs every week, who's like, it's paining him. Apparently this team won the championship last year, and you could tell it's like paining him. how bad his team is doing. And this isn't my team. Like, I'm just completely disconnected from them. I used to play with a couple of these guys, and because I don't care, I've realized you have to dissociate. If you dissociate everyone, even if they're people you know that you want to be decent, like a decent person to, they don't matter anymore once you dissociate. You don't even engage. Don't engage, and there's no issue. You have to dissociate, and you realize these are all just guys. These are all just heads. These are all humans that I would be playing against if they weren't on my team, and they would mean nothing to me. I'm trying to be a bit of a sociopath about it and completely dissociate because I'm not giving the important position of goalkeeper the respect it deserves. Now, you see, I'm behaving like a crazy person going on TikTok Live, driving them nuts. But, see, that could work if I'm saving penalties. But I'm 0 for 3 on penalties this year, you understand? So, like, there's no benefit to the mad. There's no method to the madness. There's no reason for it. It's just the madness without any of the positive qualities, that come with it. So, I'm on TikTok Live, and a ball comes out to me that I'm not there for because I'm on the line. And my captain goes, "Get off your fucking phone." And I go back to him. I go, "Buddy," "trust the process." And I hoof the ball long. Apparently, my buddy on the field who heard him said he was fucking losing his mind. I'm waiting on the report of what he said. Apparently, it was crazy. But just it's like, what am I going to say there at that point? Like, I'm caught red-handed. Yeah, I was on my phone. You got me. So I just go, "Buddy, relax. Trust the process." Lost 3-2. Still lost the game. But at this point, I don't care what happens. I'm just completely dissociated from it. And I'm actually kind of enjoying the insanity of it and how sad it is. And I feel a niggle in my shoulder, you see. I feel a niggle in my shoulder. It fucking happened in the first half. And I know, all right, whatever. I think I'm done. I said I'm on WebMD. I'm trying to figure out how to pop my shoulder back in. I got bored. I started doing pull-ups on the crossbar. Guys are like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, I think if I hang like an ape, like I might get back to my like primate body, and maybe my shoulder will kind of realign. And yeah, so that's done. I'm burning the bridge. Fuck it. I don't want to be invited back, really. I'm just trying to sabotage the whole thing so that when I say, "Yeah, my shoulder's fucked up," they go, "Hey, good. It's for the best." I go, "All right. Thanks for having me." Trust the process. That should be my new thing. I should actually keep going, and then every time we get scored on, I go, "Trust the process." Because the guy cares so much, and I just don't. So it isn't fair for me to be there. But because anytime I've been on a team, usually that's me. That is usually me. I usually lose my mind and want everyone to be on the ball. But I just don't want to be there, right? So very selfishly. The selfless move here is to actually back out because I'm not what they deserve. That is why, thankfully, I was injured. I got injured tonight. Would you know, I got injured tonight. It's an act of God. What can you do? And perhaps it's for the best. Perhaps God was selflessly ridding them of my presence. It is what it is. So, look, that went on. I don't know. I thought I'd kind of come back on. I'm on fire right now. I just thought that was all kind of entertaining. And I don't know. That may be the end of the line, but we'll see if there's more. There are more developments in weeks to come. But hopefully this should be a severance of ties and the end of the line here. And none of them will ever listen to this, and that's fine. If they do, well, I got injured. What do you want? It's a thankless job going in goal. You do it. I apologize for getting hurt. Listen, I'm not going to talk about the U21 Euro. I thought I would do more of a deep dive. I'll say this. So the problem with the U21 Euro is you have players that don't matter in that tournament. You have a couple that do. So Mattia Zanotti, who got a red card after Gnonto got one, is going to play football. He's going to be in Serie B in a couple years, probably. I'd be happy to be wrong, but I won't be, probably. And that's fine. He's the guy playing at right back for us. He's not great. He made a stupid decision. He doesn't matter. Most of the players don't matter. I thought the lineup was a little weird that they went with. I was a bit surprised that Prati started, but what are we talking about here? It's the U21 Euro. It's the U21 Euro, and we're out at the quarterfinal. You know, what's interesting about it is, here's the fun part: is when Giuseppe Ambrosino stepped up. I'm talking to you guys like you know what happened in this game, by the way, without breaking down the news. I guess I'll just give a brief deep dive. But Italy go up 1-0. Germany equalize. Willy Gnonto, who's gotten senior caps years ago, the only reason he's not getting capped at senior level anymore is because he was playing in the second division. Now that he's at Leeds, back in the Premier League, he'll certainly be getting caps again under the new manager, I would suspect. Even though he had a bad fucking game here. Bad tournament overall, actually. Gets a red card. Germany scores to go 2-1 up. We get another red card. Now we're down a goal and down 2 men. Last kick of the game, Giuseppe Ambrosino, who's the worst striker on the team, I think, on paper, based on his goal record. He was at Catanzaro last year. He's from Naples, owned by Napoli, but he was on at Frosinone this year. He scored 5 goals, 6 goals. Not a ton. Not a crazy track record. 21 years old. You'd want more from him at this point. But, you know, it's Italy. Guys don't get opportunities. Kids aren't trusted. The guy steps up to take a fucking free kick at the last kick of the game. Sends it to extra time with a fucking... I mean, he slots it beautifully into the box. Rounds a wall of 7 guys. Beautiful. Like a Star is Born type moment where you say, fuck, this guy has ice in his veins. Let's take a closer look at him. I hope he gets, like, you know, Serie A minutes next year. And, you know, who knows? You're not a man in Italy as a footballer until you're 24 anyway. So give him 2 years, fuck. You know? This is a team that I think Pio Esposito didn't get in, either didn't make or didn't go to because he chose to play for Inter at the Club World Cup. I think likewise Sebastiano, if I'm not mistaken. I found it a little weird that Pietro Comuzzo got excluded, but I think what, you know, what's his name? Is his name Nicolato, the coach? Whatever. I think what the U21 coach did here was he went with the older guys. Didn't take some of the better players that are already established with the senior team. Like Udogie wasn't there. That's fine. Like Lamine Yamal's not playing, you know, with the Spanish U21 team. You know, even though he's 17, turning 18 next month, he's won the Euro. You know, he doesn't have anything to prove. So it's for guys that, you know, need to kind of get the tournament experience, I guess, that have never really, that, you know, generally haven't broken into the senior first team yet. So, you know, so we wound up capitulating in extra time. It's too bad. You know, we were a couple minutes away from going to penalties, and it would have been a great story, but there's really no takeaway there. It's just, the fact is, most of the guys are not really all that special. If they play in Serie A, you assume that they're great. They're not all great. Like Michael Coyote, who's at Brentford now, was in Serie A last year, and we thought he could be, whoa, this could be awesome. Let's see what he does. He'll be lucky to get a senior cap ever. You know, probably won't happen. That's fine. Luca Coleosho kind of coming out of nowhere to score that goal is surprising, but you know, you're in a Premier League setup. Maybe the level's just a little higher out there. I don't know. He's not playing as many minutes as some of the guys in Serie B, but he's playing in a more competitive environment. And good for him. Mom's a wop from Toronto, so you know he gets in on a technicality. Fuck it. You know, you got the passport. Why not? Fucking play. You want to die for the flag? Die for the flag. Die for mama. You know. We're not going to, I don't know, we're not going to give it that much more of a deep dive other than saying, I think, you know, Coppola's an interesting prospect. You know, Lorenzo Pirola, the guy from Olympiacos in Greece, was at Salernitana until a year ago, is the captain. Most of the time, the captain of the U21 national team doesn't tend to do great things. Yeah, they're just older and good eggs, generally. That's why they're the captain, but they're not necessarily... Like Luca Caldirola, from Monza, was the captain at the U21 Euro 12 years ago. Luca Caldirola. Because he was 23, so he had the most caps in the team. It's usually the oldest guy there that kind of does it. You know, gets the armband. I think Ghilardi's an interesting prospect, but Coppola's clearly a cut above. And Brighton will be an interesting test for him because he'll be playing under one of the better young coaches out there, but he's also Italian. De Zerbi, you know, will be able to communicate with him well, so that'll be fun. But in terms of attackers, I mean, Baldanzi's probably the best player on the team. Didn't play in that game because I think he was injured. But, yeah, Baldanzi's maybe a guy who I think will get a look in under Gattuso. I just have a feeling. And I think Jonto will, even though he had a bad tournament. But Pisilli looked pretty interesting as well. In the Spain game, had a great movement to score a goal. It's just hard to do it at a higher level with top players, but the technique is there, and that's what's important. Pisilli has that. It's just whether he's able to do that in big moments. Unfortunately, they weren't able to get into a situation where they could play more meaningful games. But I think Ambrosino's a guy who you have to. It doesn't matter that. He hasn't scored a ton of goals at senior level. The fact that he was able to do that in that moment means momentum. He has balls. There's momentum there. In his mind, he thinks he's the man right now. He did a really cool thing. It's hard to do. And that's almost like something like that can at times just propel you onto great things. That's all it takes. Just a little something like that. Star is born. Let's take a closer look at this guy. Remember, he did that one thing that one time. Well, maybe he does it a second time. Shows that he's clutch. Sometimes you just need that, man. You need a guy that's competent. When you get to the higher levels, everyone's a professional. So the margins are very fine. And having a guy that's able to do one thing well is helpful. A guy that's able to press well, or a guy that's able to hold up well, or a guy that's able to, come off the bench well, be a super sub. I'm interested to see where he goes. I like him. I like his look. He's a little guy. Ish. Be great if he stayed at Napoli. Conte will never trust him. That's the problem. But you see that and you say, why not keep the kid around? Why not keep him around the best team in Italy and give him a shot and see what he does? And if he doesn't do anything, then you send him on loan. Fine. But where does that lead, most of these guys? It leads them to nowhere. It leads them to just playing. It leads them to playing in the top flight sometimes and being professional footballers, but that's about it. It doesn't lead to them playing, as a star or playing, with for their country at senior level. That should be the goal. Usually the guys that wind up doing that are the ones that are a cut above from the beginning. So like a Casadei, he's already made, senior. He's already gotten senior call-ups. Pisilli, likewise. It's a bit, verdict is still kind of out on him. The fact I think he got capped, but that doesn't mean anything. Pietro Pellegrini years ago got a fucking cap, so. And then he kind of fell off the face of the earth. Poor kid, right? So, a guy who, by the way, was only 1 year removed from being able to be eligible at this tournament. That's how young that guy got started, but, it all kind of fell apart for him. But, Yonto's a guy who will probably get a look in at senior level again because he's still quite young and he's got great legs, and he could do things that are very important, very valuable, which is just beat a man. Player that plays like him, as dynamic on the ball as he is, that's valuable. So, guys like that are going to get a look in at senior level. But what's nice is, what would be nice is if a guy who's got enough promise that he's been able to get into youth teams from U16 to U21, like a Giuseppe Ambrosino, is able to get into a top flight team and show worth there. That's what it's about. That's how you convert, at a higher level. You want to convert at a higher clip. Guys that are operating at a very high level, in the top flight, not just playing in the top flight, guys that are operating at a very high level, not just guys that are, taking a salary and playing when the coach says to play. No, guys that are like grabbing games by the balls. That's valuable. And it's tough to do, but if you could just create an ecosystem where guys are getting to that level, brilliant. Fantastic. Now it's more competitive. Now things are more competitive. You have other guys that are, making themselves options just because they're forcing themselves into the conversation. Even if they don't get picked, for a national team. It's like, well, at least we have a better talent pool to pick from that's performing at a higher level. Okay, look, let's do a game. Let's run a little fun experiment here to end this off on. First of all, I don't think we never heard Trump talk about. We never heard the full soundbite of Trump riffing on Iran with the Juve team behind him. Let's pick up on where we left off about 25 minutes ago or a few hours ago before we left for the game. Let's pick this up here. Hang on. Let's load this clip. Bang. So Trump is being asked about Iran with the Juventus team behind him. Here we go.
Not only concerned about the U.S. potentially getting involved in another conflict in the Middle East, but worried about the potential for retaliation here at home.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get involved either, but I've been saying for 20 years, maybe longer, that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I've been saying it for a long time, and I think they were a few weeks away from having it. And they had to sign a document. I think they wish they signed it now. It was a fair deal.
Every player there is wondering what the fuck is going on. They're all thinking, oh no, my agent's having a heart attack right now. My agent's having a fucking heart attack right now. There's a couple guys here. There's a couple guys here who have maybe a family member that's very excited. Like, wow, how cool is this? Trump's talking about bombing the Middle East with him there. But most people probably are freaked out by this. Just being in the room. You understand, most footballers, even if they're dumb, they're dumbos, okay? They're not sitting here completely indifferent to what's going on. They understand the gravitas of what's happening. In fact, because they're a lot of dumbos don't like to talk about stuff they don't know about. Too many dumb people now talk about things they don't know about. That's a problem. You might be experiencing that. Exhibit A right now on this podcast. Okay? It's a real mental illness in society today, which you could be seeing on full display here. You be the judge. You be the judge. Maybe you don't like what I said about, Israel bombing Iran's purported nuclear sites earlier. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just a guy talking with confidence. Maybe I'm dumb. But a lot of dumb people do talk about stuff that they don't know. I feel like most of these guys, most pro athletes are trained to do this, not touch politics. Now, a lot of them, in the NBA, a lot of them do the BLM thing. They should not do that. They should shut up and dribble. It's the smartest move is to say, I'm being apolitical. You have to stay apolitical if you're an athlete, unless you really give a shit and have an opinion. Some people don't have an opinion that's that informed. They spew it, but if you don't have that informed an opinion, just say, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to touch that. I'm a little confused. So these guys in the background now are all losing their minds, completely uncomfortable. They're like, what the fuck is going on now? They all think they're going to take pictures with Trump and he's talking about how Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Now, bear in mind, this is what I saw on Instagram. I open Instagram and I see Trump saying Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. And I go, is that is that Federico Ganti in the fucking background? Is that Igor Tudor? Why is Vlahovic with his arms crossed? This is Trump continuing with Juve in the background on the war in the Middle East.
And now it's a harder thing to sign, It's a lot of water over the dam. But, it's I say it very simply. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Too much devastation. And they'd use it. I believe they'd use it. Others won't use it, but I believe they'd use it.
He's riffing. He's just Trump riffing with the team in the background. Some people said it's a bad look on Juve. I don't think it is. I think it's just it's more of a what the fuck moment. Actually, you know what? No, it is a bad look on Juve. You don't want your team in there while the war in the Middle East is being discussed. You don't. It's not that being in the room with Trump's a bad look. It's just you don't want your team standing behind Trump like the Azov battalion while the leader sends threats to the Russians. You know what I'm saying? You ever see those videos of like a Ukrainian leader with a bunch of masked guys? A better example is like the cartel guys. You ever see those videos in the jungle where some guy will get on camera with like a bandana and sunglasses with a bunch of thugs with their arms crossed in the background and he's like sending threats to the Mexican government? Like it's not the PR look you want to run here. By the way, if a championship team is going to celebrate a championship, none of them want to be there while Trump's taking or fielding questions from the press about the state of the world. But this will be a fun exercise. I think this is a good This is a good little preparation for next year when things are going to be very politicized. Because make no mistake, this war is probably not going to calm down anytime soon. And there are going to be countries in the competition. There are going to be countries in the World Cup next year that the U.S. will have troops in actively. There will be several countries that will have gotten invaded by the U.S. in the last 50 years. Let's play a game, and let's actually look up how many, just for fun here, let's look up how many teams have been qualified. Sorry, let's look up how many teams are qualified for the 2026 World Cup right now, right off the bat. And let's see how many of them have been at war with the U.S. This is a fun exercise. This is fun. This is preparation for next year, for the World Cup. This is actually a good primer for what's to come. Because you are going to have people that are going to protest the American regime. You are going to have people that play for, I don't know, like if Iran makes the World Cup, that's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting because you're going to have tons of Persians in America who hate the Ayatollah but kind of want to support Iran because they like being Persian, but they don't like a lot of the Iranians that are still in Iran. But many of the Iranians in Iran themselves don't like the Ayatollah, and some of them are going to be kind of scared to take a stance, but some of them are also going to want to maybe, out of fear for their family in Iran, take a stance against the American government. Let's look up qualified teams. Let's end on this note right now. Qualified teams for the 2026 World Cup currently. Who is qualified at the time of recording? I'm going to pull this up here. Okay. Let's see. Let's see what teams are already in. Hang on. Stay with me here, folks. It gets better. Let's see what teams are in. Okay, here we go. Teams. A number of teams have already qualified. Oh, this is fun. Oh, perfect. Beautiful. Australia, Japan, South Korea, Uzbekistan debuting. Italy, by the way, nowhere on this list yet, obviously. Jordan, I don't think we've been at war with Jordan. Iran is a fun one. Iran have qualified. That'll be fun. That'll be fun to see next year. So, okay, hang on. So, that's it. We have New Zealand qualified, Argentina, Brazil, Ecuador, and then the three hosts from North America. Great. We already have Iran qualified. Israel probably won't qualify. They're in our group. I hope they don't qualify directly through the group. I hope Italy, could qualify first. Maybe Israel. I do want Israel to qualify because it'll be fun. More than I want to see Israel at the World Cup, more than I want to see Erling Haaland at the World Cup. And I want to see Erling Haaland at the World Cup because I think he's the best striker in the world. But I want to see Israel at the World Cup more because it'll be fun, because it'll make people upset. And when people are upset, it's fun to watch. It's fun to talk about. Just like when I was on TikTok Live and my captain said, get off your phone, and I said, trust the process, and he was seething because his team keeps losing. That's fun. That's fun to watch. It's fun to be a pest. Israel's a pest. That's what they are. They get the people going. They get the people riled up. Let's see what's going on in qualification currently. There are teams that are still not yet eliminated. Let's look at some of the prospects. Currently. Why don't we go right over to the AFC, the Asian Confederation? Here we go. We have, here we go. We have teams that are not out of it. Indonesia, boring. Oman, boring. The UAE, interesting. Apolitical, because they care about money. This is where it gets fun. Saudi Arabia, they've been good lately. They've been their business first now. So there's not a huge issue there any longer. There's not a huge issue with Saudi Arabia any longer because they're becoming increasingly lay. Iraq is a fun one. Iraq would be fun. Sending the Iraq. Here's the thing. 2026 is when the World Cup's happening. So most of the players will have been born about 2000. Perfect. So it'll be a whole team pretty much. The Iraqi national team will be made up pretty much exclusively of guys whose childhoods were punctuated by American missiles flying overhead. It'll be great. The entire Iraqi national team will be made up of survivors of the Iraq War. We have Qatar in the mix at the moment. That'll be fun as well. Qatar are a little mischievous now. Qatar are kind of mixing it up. They're taking, they're kind of trying to be Swiss, but they're allowing strikes on air bases to happen. That's interesting. That things could spice up a little with Qatar. They have money. Things could get a little fun in the next couple years. We have Rwanda, genocide, but no U.S. intervention that I'm aware of. Or did we fund one of the groups in Rwanda? I don't know. The U.S. funds a lot of stuff. Burkina Faso, Senegal. Now, these are not great places to live. I don't know if American troops have been involved there in some capacity, maybe in a peacekeeping initiative. I think Burkina Faso is run by a dictator at the moment. Cameroon, Tanzania, Gabon, Morocco. All right, well, Africa gets a little tamer, a little more tame. Well, all right, no problem. That's all right. That's okay. Because there's UEFA. UEFA's a fun one because you have... you have all the former Yugoslavian countries that we went over in detail before. Venezuela are currently in an interconfederational playoff. They have qualified for, I believe, or are in the process of qualifying for. They're in a pole position to secure that spot at present. Venezuela's a fun one because have the U.S. meddled in Venezuela? I don't know if they've gone about regime change there. See, you never know. That's the fun thing. What's fun is these are the ones we know. Now, what the CIA is actually up to is a whole other matter. But let's just keep it to what's above board. Let's keep it to what's above board. We have... What teams in Europe could be fun? It'd be fun if we can get Turkey there for political reasons. They have not yet begun the qualification campaign. Yeah, that would be fun. That would be a lot of fun. Turkey would be an interesting one. Of course, Ukraine, of course. Now, Russia are not allowed to. They're not allowed in polite society, so there's no chance of them qualifying. Unfortunately, I don't mind seeing Russia at a World Cup. We talked about this last week. How they're not allowed into polite sporting society because it's been ruled that. It's been ruled, really. That's why they're not involved in qualification. They've been given a slap on the wrist, and so the only way we can get a constituent from the Russia-Ukraine conflict in the war in the World Cup will be Ukraine. There's a chance of that. We have then Israel. Israel's a big one as well. Well, let's stay tuned, folks. Let us stay tuned, lock in, and see what comes of the next few months. There's going to be a couple of interesting conversations held next year. I think Iran being there is good. Because it means that half the battle's already done. We just got to get Israel there as well. And then we see what Allah has in store. We see what Yahweh has in store for us. We go to the draw and we wait and see. Wouldn't it be glorious? Israel-Iran at the World Cup. Is that not what football is all about? Two countries that think currently at present, there'll be a war with each other, so they'll be like, well, they're evil. Because Iran's going to say, well, Israel are the evil Jews and yada, yada. Then Israel's going to say, well, Iran is trying to strike civilian areas. That should be a war crime. And so on. And Iran will probably say, Israel kills civilians as well. And they'll argue neither of them should even be allowed to have the privilege to face off against each other. And that's wrong. They should face each other. That's the point. Go out there and do it. And then at the end of the game, the players shake hands. Because they're not nuclear scientists. But the Israelis, to be fair, are all former soldiers. Okay. I'm done. That's enough out of my brain. We just did a double pod for you, I think. Two mini pods, two little 40-minute segments. Some with good lighting, some with bad lighting, a little wardrobe change. Keeping it tasteful. For anyone that listens to this whole thing, you'll be happy that it's longer. I know most people won't. The view time on the percentage of view time, the watch time on this, the percentage will be this. The view time will be the same as it normally is. That's how it goes. So this episode is not going to get pushed to as many people. So if you're listening to this right now, if you're listening to the words that I'm saying, just know you're one of the probably biggest fans of this show, and I appreciate that, but tell people about it. Tell people about it. Tell people about how this is a show with a humble listenership that is aiming to grow to numbers far beyond what is probably realistic. But we are aspiring to do great things. We're doing it alone. We don't even have a producer right now. It's just me and you, me and my sweet dulcet tones in your ear. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do share it with somebody. And thank you for staying till the end. Much love. Alla prossima. Goodbye.